Hello and welcome to another Lightstep Incident Response video overview. My name is Darius Kumari and I'm a product manager on the Lightstep Incident Response product. And today I want to tell you about the team setup experience and talk about everything team related, from on-call schedules to escalation policy. As you can see, I've logged into the Lightstep application, and from the left-hand navigation bar I've selected the on-call teams module. And that's going to bring up my teams list, which will show me any team related to me, whether I'm a member on that team or I'm the manager of the team. I can also understand a lot of information just by looking at these cards. One, I can understand who the current on-call user is for that given team, and I could click in and drill down if I wanted to into that user's profile to get their contact information. I can also see who all the team members are on that team, as well as who the team manager is. This gives me quick points of contact for a team if I'm in the middle of remediating an issue and I need to get that extra support. I can also identify quickly if no one is currently on call for this given team, or if the team is in what we're calling setup mode. So because a team includes concepts like an on-call schedule and escalation policy, sometimes a team isn't fully set up and as a result is still a work in progress in the system. You'll understand that by the team being in this setup mode here. Now, if you had more teams, you could easily search for them to find for a team by name. And if you have too many teams, you can also click in to delete a team directly from the card. Let's get into creating a new team though, and talk about this whole teams construct, which is at the core of the Lightstep Incident Response experience. These teams are on call and they're associated to services. And when issues happen affecting a service, we find out who is the team responsible for that service to route work in that direction. We then look into the on-call calendar to see who to notify based on the escalation policies. So let's start though in the team setup by simply defining the team. I'm going to pick one of these images here. My team has a definitely set of go-getters. We're going to pick a shark image here. We're called the Database North America team. And I'm currently logged in as a user named Jitten, and so you'll see the logged in user defaults as the manager. But if I was setting this up for someone else, I could set them as well. You can also add tags, which are standard ways to classify information in the system. Tags will also be applied to users, to alerts, to incidents, and so it'll help you in the future when you get to searching for content or further down the future with reporting. I can also define who the team members are on this team. Now, in this case, I'm going to go with Matt, Rachel, and if there was someone on my team who isn't yet in the application, I can actually invite them directly from this screen. For now, though, I'm going to stick with Matt and Rachel as I get into the setup. So as I head to next, I can see here that the next step is defining my on-call schedule. And I can either start from scratch an empty schedule, or if I'm trying to do a common pattern such as 3 shifts, 8 hours each, follow the sun, or a 2 shifts, 1 shift week, 1 shift weekend, I can simply click one of these templates here to get started with that content. So let's do that. I clicked into the week and weekend shift structure. And first I want to talk to what we're seeing here. This is the on-call schedule view, and currently I'm in the week view. Although I could also change it at a day if I need to get very granular. From this week view, I can understand what the shifts are in which users are on a continuous span of on-call coverage. And so you could see that I have a weekend shift here, as well as a weekday shift. And that's because we have a continuous coverage, Monday through Friday, and a continuous coverage from Saturday to Sunday. At the top is where I can see total coverage. And so you'll see as I click forward through the weeks, this is a quick and easy way to make sure that I have continuous coverage for my teams. When I'm going in to defining an on-call schedule, I can also click the pencil icon here by these shifts to edit the shift details. So here I could see the shift name is weekend. I could see start and the end, as well as the start time and end time. And we'll notice that if I make changes, such as if I created a gap here, ending the shift at 11:30 p.m., then it'll re-render here and it will adjust in real time. I can also fill in these members, and so I'll also actually make this 8, so it's a bit more big of a gap, between these shifts, just so I could add a third shift for our demo example today. And as you could see, I also selecting the days of the week for the shift. So since this is the weekend shift, I selected Sunday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday. And I can then define the members, and I could do so either manually, or I have this nice autofill button, which will actually pick users that are part of the team based on those that have the least amount of current on-call coverage and the most availability for that time. And so you could see here that Matt was selected as the primary and Rachel automatically as the backup. I could change that if I wanted to, but I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to press save. And just like that, I can see now I have Matt defined prominently as the primary here on this weekend on call schedule. And for my weekday, it follows the same kind of a logic, right? So I can come in and I'll do Rachel this time, and I will add as a backup myself, and I'll go ahead and save. And you could see again, it's kind of updating that in real time. So I could see weekday shift, we're going to have Rachel. Weekend shift, we're going to have Matt. Now, something else that I'm going to highlight here is as I'm coming in and as I'm defining these shifts, you could see since Rachel started on this Friday and I had a backup of Jitten, then the next Friday and that next week, Jitten is actually going to be on call. And the reason that is if we scroll down here, then we can see that we have 2 primary on-call users we defined, Rachel and Jitten, and we set the rotation to be a weekly rotation, right? Meaning every week, these 2 users are going to change. If I wanted a third user, so if I wanted to add Matt here, and I still left it as weekly, and I go ahead and save that, you'll notice that for 1 week I have Jitten, 1 week I have Matt, and 1 week I have Rachel. And so now we have those 3 users that are shifting on that weekly rotation that I defined. And I can, of course, change that. So if I wanted to, I can go in and say, hey, let's change this every day instead. It won't make much sense with this current rotation because we're already going through multiple days, but I have that option. So then for my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you could see that we're constantly cycling every day a different user throughout this shift. So it's pretty simple to define. You define when does the shift start, what time of day, what days of the week is the shift applying to, and then who are the users who are involved in that shift. And then you could see the primary of the top level ones, and then you could add backup to each as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to go in and actually fill that last gap we have. If you recall, I can look at total coverage and see that, oops, I'm missing coverage between 4 and 8. And so that's going to be throughout every week here on my schedule. Now, this is a small span. Something I can actually do is press autofill shifts here. And as you can see, it automatically created the final shift to fix that gap. So really, it's a nice feature if you have this tiny gap you need to fill in your already defined schedule to automatically get that in the system. So now I have it, and I'm going to go ahead and again, I'll just set, let's say, Jitten every day for this. He's the only user. And I'm going to go ahead and press save. And just like that, we've defined a full on-call schedule with 24/7 coverage with multiple users here as a primary for the on-call. The next step in my process is going to be the escalation policies. And again, I can pick a template, but this time I'm going to start from scratch. So an escalation policy is essentially the logic that happens when an alert comes in. Whose phone are you going to ring, essentially? Who are you going to wake up to get working on this issue? And importantly, if that person doesn't acknowledge, they don't pick the phone up or respond to the push, whatever it may be, where they get that notification, then who do you go to next? And so here you can see I can define either the same policy for multiple priorities, or I'll show you an example. I'll do one policy for P1 and P2 or high priority and a different policy for P3, 4, and 5. And so when an alert is triggered, I want to notify on-call. Makes sense. If they don't respond, let's try the backup. If they don't respond, let's try the manager. And if they don't respond, let's do the whole team. That sounds good to me. The next thing I can do as well is define the time frame between these users. So in my example, I don't want to notify everyone at once, so that's actually a clarification I'll make. So that logic that I want for multiple tiers, I'll add as escalation level. So 5 minutes later, I will go to the backup. 5 minutes after that, I will go to the team's manager. And 5 minutes after that, I will go to everyone that is on that team, right? And so really easy to get that tiered logic of who you are going to get to. And since this is a P1, we want to make it really quick, only 5 minutes between each one. On the other hand, I want another policy, right, that is going to take effect for my low priority items. So I'm going to add another policy for P3, P4, P5. We're going to say first we want to go into the primary. And then if they don't respond, this is a bit lower urgency. 30 minutes, maybe an hour go by. Then we go to our backup. Then maybe let's say another 6 hours go by. We'll go to the manager. And we won't even reach out to everyone because it's not too critical of an issue. And I'll go ahead and save that. And you could see now I have full coverage. I have escalation policies for P1, P2, and P3, 4, and 5. And so now I know when an alert comes in that is affecting a service that my team manages. We know who it's going to go to based on the on-call schedule, whose phone is going to get kind of lit up, as they say. And then we know if they don't pick up, who it's going to go to next per the escalation policy. Now, as I continue to services are a very important construct in Lightstep Incident Response. All the response work you do should be in context to a service. When a database goes down, when there's application response issues, fundamentally, the technical sides of those areas still link to a service, something that you're providing the organization. It could be the application is the service itself. It could be your service is simply providing database read access or providing networking and an infrastructure to the organization. And so here we can assign a given service to that team. And in my case, I don't have actually any services here. So I'm going to go ahead and get to this later to assign the service by creating a service, which we'll cover in a different video. And I'll just press done. And so just like that, my team setup is complete. I have the core on-call schedule set, the escalation policy set, and in the future, I'd also create and link a service to this team for when they're responsible. And so you'll see that after this setup mode is complete, so after you're completed with the setup of the team, now when you go to visit the team, you're going to view it in what we call a team board view, where you see the team and all the different elements of that team, whether it's the members, the escalation policies, etc. You can see that all, or edit the team name, image, and so on, directly here from this team board view. And so you could definitely edit it after the setup mode. And that's important because here from your schedule, that's where you could do things like create time off, create coverage for a user, and so on to make sure your schedule stays up to date. So I hope this video was helpful and it provided some guidance on how to set up your first team or a team here in Lightstep Incident Response. And as always, if you have questions, comments, let me know in the video comments down below. And we look forward to hearing your feedback here with Lightstep Incident. Thank you.